The third problem we're going to be taking a look at is what we call a run-on sentence. And a run-on sentence essentially is two or more complete sentences that are not separated with an appropriate punctuation mark or joined with a conjunction. So take a look at these sentences. I went to Paris on vacation. It was the most beautiful place I've ever visited. I like our new math teacher, comma. She always explains the work very clearly. The rules were clear, comma. They were not allowed to speak at the meeting. Brown pointed out the cost to the board, comma. The project will cost $100,000 in the first year alone. The vote on his bill was canceled, comma. However, comma, the vote on her bill was not canceled. The vote was canceled, therefore we were allowed to go home early. So all of these are run-on sentences. Now let's take a look at the hacks. Solution 1, use a period or full stop. I went to Paris on vacation, period. It was the most beautiful place I have ever visited. The vote on his bill was canceled, period. However, the vote on her bill was not canceled. Solution 2, use a semicolon or a colon. I like our new math teacher, semicolon. She always explains the work very clearly. I went to Paris on vacation, semicolon. It was the most beautiful place I have ever visited. The rules were clear, colon. They were not allowed to speak at the meeting. The vote on his bill was canceled, semicolon. However, comma, the vote on her bill was not canceled. The vote was canceled, semicolon. Therefore, comma, we were allowed to go home early. The third solution is use a coordinating or subordinating conjunction. I went to Paris on vacation, and it was the most beautiful place I have ever visited. I like our new math teacher because she explains the work very clearly. These are all solutions to the problem of a run-on sentence. But let's take a little look at why do you make this mistake? Well, the first reason is an incorrect use of however and therefore and other sentence connecting adverbs. So the vote was canceled, therefore we were allowed to go home early. Now if therefore were a subordinating conjunction, that sentence would be correct. However, therefore is not a subordinating conjunction, rather, or a coordinating conjunction. It's a sentence connecting adverb. So you have to punctuate it this way. The vote was canceled, semicolon, therefore, comma, we were allowed. Another way, as we mentioned before, is the full stop. The vote was canceled, full stop, therefore we were. And obviously because it's a sentence connecting adverb, it can introduce a main clause. Right? It's not a subordinating conjunction. Another possibility is use a coordinating conjunction. The vote was canceled and therefore we were allowed to go home early. And the same thing with however. Right? I mean, it's pretty much the same problem. There's a second mistake you guys make, and that mistake is called comma splicing. And comma splicing essentially is joining two complete sentences with a comma. In English, we have a strength system as to how clearly boundaries and connections between sentences are marked. So the full stop or the period, I mean, we also have the exclamation point, the question mark, is stronger than a semicolon or a colon, which is stronger than a comma. And a comma is generally viewed as being too weak to join these two independent clauses. So obviously we have the rules were clear, full stop. They were not allowed to speak at the meeting. Obviously there is a connection between these two sentences, so we can use a colon. The rules were clear, colon. They were not allowed to speak at the meeting. And the colon here has what we call an elaborative interpretation. An elaborative interpretation means that the rules were clear. Which rules? The rules that they were not allowed to speak at the meeting. Brown pointed out the cost to the board. The project will cost. Right, so this colon once again is elaborative. Brown pointed out the cost to the board. Which costs? How much will the project will cost $100,000 in the first year alone. So this colon has an elaborative function. The semicolon has what we call a coordinative interpretation. So the rules were clear. Semicolon, they were not allowed to speak at the meeting. That would be similar, almost similar to kind of an and or a but or some type of a coordinating conjunction. Essentially, you're saying that these two sentences are connected to each other in a specific way, right? One sentence is not subordinate to each other. It's not elaborative, namely that the second sentence is elaborating on the first. but these two sentences are connected to each other, and we can make that connection sometimes even more clear by using what we call a semicolon. It's a little weaker than a period or a full stop. Right? The vote was canceled, semicolon. The representatives felt that there was not enough support to elect a new leader. So obviously the vote was canceled, and the semicolon can maybe kind of ask, well, maybe why was the vote canceled? Well, because the representatives felt that there was not enough support to elect a new leader. Right? So we have, although it is grammatically, it is coordinative. It is, if you understand the sentence, it obviously is the second sentence is providing the reason for why the vote was canceled. So grammatically, we use the semicolon here to show that there's a connection between these two sentences. And what is the connection? Well, if we think of it, it's very simple. The second sentence provides the reason for the first. And as we mentioned above, the comma is often viewed as being too weak in and of itself to properly join two or more independent or two or more complete sentences. Thank you.